The last video on tactical ingenuity in the Russian Federation seems to have been well received, so today I thought about what the armed forces of Ukraine can boast of on the battlefield. The answer was quick to arrive. Do not underestimate the armed forces of Ukraine. They are also a strong, large and well-armed army, especially considering their battle-hardened experience against powerful opponents, along with all the support and supplies provided by their partners. And in terms of tactical military ingenuity, you definitely shouldn't underestimate the Ukrainians. They are just as adept, although they have their own specifics, mainly associated with the defensive nature of their military operations. However, today we will talk about something else. What if? Specifically, I will show you 3 clear examples of why Ukraine is dominating in the use of drones of all kinds. Enjoy watching! To be honest, it was harder for me to put together the video about the Ukrainian Armed Forces military ingenuity for several reasons. First, as I already mentioned, they are more on the defensive than on the offensive, and ingenuity in this type of warfare is not as important as during an offensive. Secondly, the Ukrainian army is critically dependent on developments and supplies that are far from being domestic to Ukraine's military-industrial complex, which also plays a role. But if you ask what the Ukrainian armed forces surpass the Russian armed forces with on the battlefield, the first thing that comes to mind is nothing less than drones. Yeah, the Ukrainian armed forces are also strong in electronic intelligence and communications, but that's not as interesting to regular folks like us. So let's leave that to the military experts, since those fields are too specialized. But even they will not argue that copters, UAVs, and other robotic systems are extremely important elements in the work of the armed forces of Ukraine. From the very beginning, they set the tone for this movement, and until recently, were undoubtedly leaving Russia as the follower. To give credit where it's due, the Ukrainian Armed Forces have a whole section dedicated to drones and a full-fledged school for developing and training new specialists. In contrast, in Russia, this field is still in the hands of enthusiasts, with information literally passed from person to person, which helps maintain secrecy but hinders the widespread adoption of new technologies. In general, it's not so straightforward. The king of the grill, rap, and moto cavalry from the last video are of course cool. But let's not forget that before all that appeared, the AFU gave the Russian units a hard time with one new and straightforward weapon, the dangerous pistol, the honesty and effectiveness of which were realized only in the Ukrainian conflict. Of course, I'm talking about drones. American artillery shells with GPS guidance cost $100,000 each. Smart weapons are expensive and limited. But what if you could combine precision with abundance? For the first time in the history of wars, the answer to this question was found on the battlefields. A drone on its own, of course, is not a miracle weapon. Such a thing simply does not exist. They generally have a short range, carry a small payload, and do poorly in bad weather. Also, for these reasons, they won't replace artillery anytime soon. But in modern warfare, drones have come very close to achieving this. They are especially dangerous for the attacking side, doubly so if the attack takes place in the classic way, that is, with mechanized columns. Drones can be used not only for striking targets, but even for precise mining with mines like the PTM-3. Moreover, they usually cost just a few $100s and can be printed in any basement on a 3D printer. Both Russia and Ukraine are working on developing the concept of drone use. Each has its own path, but it so happens that Ukraine seems to be more successful at scaling up and showing flexibility. Or it might just stand out more because the armed forces of Ukraine are more reliant on them due to shortages of other weaponry. Moreover, it is the kind of weapon that the country can still assemble on its own territory and make progress in this direction. Here are some practical examples. The next stage in drone development, which both sides are already experimenting with, is autonomous navigation and target recognition. And likely, by the summer of 2024, the armed forces had progressed enough to shoot down a helicopter mid-air with a drone for the first time. It is claimed that this was preceded by at least 10 months of attempts. According to preliminary data, a 1 kilogram drone hit a vehicle on the eastern outskirts of Donetsk, which was about 16 kilometers from the front line at that time. To cover that distance, the FPV drone needed assistance from another UAV that followed behind, relaying the signal. In other words, it is a complex operation requiring careful coordination. And it seems there are no limits to the role of drones in warfare. Both sides are now using drones like termites or dragons with incendiary mixtures, which literally burn out trenches along with everything within them. But many innovations are also contributed by partners. For example, the Germans brought such a kite on a string to Ukraine. Its main feature is the fiber optic cable instead of traditional radio transmitters, which provides a fully secure communication channel, invulnerable to enemy electronic warfare. During flight, the cable unwinds from a special reel, of which there can be 2, each containing up to 10 kilometers of cable, weighing about 1 kilogram and 300 grams. When used, it does not get taut, but rather is thrown on the ground, which eliminates the possibility of tangling. However, information about the development of the fiber optic drone is also actively circulating among the Russian armed forces, who might also be receiving help from their partners. What about the Chinese Nasi drone that mimics a bird? If the war continues, we could soon see it on the battlefields of Ukraine. However, it is not enough to produce many drones, they must also be used correctly. The Ukrainian Armed Forces have no issues with this either. Here is one of the latest examples. In Podkurovsko, they applied a combined tactic of drones and electronic warfare for the first time, which became one of the main factors in the success of the offensive in the first days. First, the Ukrainian military took down a screen of Russian fixed-wing reconnaissance drones, thus blinding the enemy. Then short-range jammers were deployed, programmed based on electronic warfare intelligence data. This prevented the Russians from using any drones, while the Ukrainians filled the sky with their FPV drones, supporting and advancing their ambitious offensive. There are also reports from Russian media claiming that Ukraine has started using balloon drones, which approach targets the objective quietly and deploys explosives. It seems they even managed to shoot down one such balloon. Inside, there's a GPS tracker, control electronics, ballast, an explosive device, and a couple of batteries. The controllers are embedded with coordinates. Notably, this balloon is similar to weather balloons, to remain unnoticed and not be targeted by artillery or air defense systems. And this is far from the last example of the ingenuity and successful use of drones by the armed forces of Ukraine. But it's impossible to list everything, so let's move on. The role of drones in warfare is immense, and it makes sense that they can be found not only in the air. Meet the kamikaze robot Rat-LS. It's either a Ukrainian creation or developed in cooperation with Western companies, which is more likely, but it's fighting on the side of the armed forces of Ukraine. Although it's a singular item, it is extremely dangerous. One of these robots carries anti-tank mines or a combat module that can blow up an entire tank or bunker. They are also used to destroy communications and disrupt enemy logistics. The key is that Rat-LS allows operation from a safe distance, with a maximum speed of 24 km per hour, an operational range of 6 km, and a battery life of 2 hours. The robot is able to work silently and approach the enemy unnoticed. It's also capable of carrying a load of up to 35 kilograms and easily overcoming obstacles 25 centimeters high, moving well over sand. Where a jeep can go, our honey badger can go without difficulty, says the manufacturer. By the way, they used to make light poles and set up production using crowdfunding. It is known that a bridge in the village of Ivanivska, west of Bakhmut, was blown up in this way, where the Wagner group was advancing at the time, complicating their logistics. However, there has still been no news of truly mass production of the Ratel, nor have there been any loud examples of their usage. This once again proves that it is not about who was the first to innovate, but who was the first to put the development into mass production. Ground drones are also used in the Russian armed forces. Previously, a video was published showing their use of ground drones equipped with an automatic AGS-17 grenade launcher. It was reported that these assault devices were used on the front line for the first time in Berdichev, but they were subsequently destroyed by FPV drones from the Ukrainian forces. The industry of ground drone navigation is not stagnant either. Recently, on the Toretsk direction, the armed forces of Ukraine deployed the RoboSobaka Uni-3 Go-2 Pro for reconnaissance in urban combat. These are compact, sturdy, and maneuverable drones on 4 legs, operated by handlers. They can reach places where aerial drones cannot, such as inside buildings or trenches. And these robodogs can be delivered to positions by a Ukrainian drone called Vampire. Also spotted was the Bet-2 model from the British firm Brit Alliance, featuring German anti-thermal camouflage. The robotic dogs move silently and close to the ground. They are very difficult to detect and identify as potentially dangerous. They do this at speeds of up to 15 km per hour and operate within a radius of 3.5 km for 2 to 5 hours. Leaked videos of how these robot dogs are being used are quite impressive, do you agree? They scout the area, detect booby-trap mines, track enemy movements, and significantly reduce the risks for the scouts themselves. It is reported that more than 30 of these are operating in Donbass alone, and for now, they are used solely for reconnaissance purposes. I dread to imagine what will happen when these robotic dogs with flamethrowers on their backs appear on the front lines. These have already been introduced by the company Through Flame, and the model is called Thermonator. It can shoot fire up to 10 meters for 45 minutes, and it is controlled using a wireless controller. The robot is also equipped with multiple cameras and sensors that allow it to move somewhat autonomously without human intervention. The cost of the metal 4-legged army pet ranges from 4 to 8,000 euros. Yes, it is not yet a weapon of today, but it does make you think. Ultimately, the military actions in Ukraine have clearly shown that modern warfare is impossible without modern technology. It's a battle not only of people, but also of weaponry, inventions, and military budgets. The successful use of unmanned kamikaze boats against ships of the Black Sea Fleet has led many to see them not just as a promising tool, but as an almost ultimate effective weapon that fundamentally changes the tactics of future naval warfare, even without having their own fleet. The kamikaze boats have indeed proven to be indispensable in their field at a certain stage, much like their aerial counterparts, as no one was actually prepared for them. As a result, they managed to sink some ships and boats, damage others, and force others to respond and perpetually fear the new threat. Essentially, swaybacks are just like FPV drones, only on water. They are also remote-controlled, cheap, and hard to detect. Each one is about 5.5 meters long, can travel roughly 1,000 kilometers, and has an autonomy of about 60 hours. The warhead may contain 200 kilograms of explosives, and control is carried out via video satellite communication channels. The tactic, put simply, is as follows. A lone target is tracked down, after which 3 to 10 of these drones head toward it from a location 100 to 250 kilometers away, where they might have been waiting on standby. Then they proceed towards the ship with the aim of ramming and blowing up along with it. The speed of the Beka is about 80 kilometers per hour, which is 43 knots, making it impossible for a ship to escape such an attack. Meanwhile, some of the boats can deploy confusing smoke screens, while others can release packages of thin metallic threads that deceive radar and thermal imaging systems of the ship's defenses. The remaining ones attack the ship in a scattered formation, preventing them from being hit, while maneuvering at their highest possible speed amid the water spray and splashes that cover their already low silhouette. The warhead can employ a cumulative action, designed based on the principle of an explosive projectile, or it may contain a tube guiding an armor-piercing incendiary round that is fired directly at point-blank range. There are plenty of options. However, although the unmanned surface vehicles are dangerous and devious weapons, they're still far from achieving absolute dominance at sea, due to a number of critical factors. First of all, their low seaworthiness makes them useless in even slight waves. The drone is quite visible in the infrared range because you cannot install serious engine masking means on such a small unit. This also makes the drone quite noisy. Furthermore, they have very poor visibility, as the operator only sees the image from a camera positioned very close to sea level. Nevertheless, the price of one such drone boat ranges from $10,000 to $50,000, so the cost of even 30 of them would be less than that of a single anti-ship missile. While a ship might intercept 1 or 2 missiles, there is no way any vessel could fend off 30 to 50 of them even theoretically. And just how much cheaper they are than a single warship, I think it goes without saying. For example, the patrol ship Sergei Kotov repelled attacks involving marine drones 3 times. In the latest attempt, the standard defense systems destroyed 5 back units at once, but during the 4th attempt with 15 drones, it was unable to repeat this despite the vessels being detected in time. Currently, no ship in any navy worldwide is equipped to fend off attacks from a large number of kamikaze drones, but many countermeasures have already been devised. They are similar to those used for armored vehicles, installing various anti-aircraft and machine gun installations, remotely controlled weapon modules, or grill nets designed similarly to late 19th and early 20th century anti-torpedo nets. Or you can simply defend yourself with your own FPV drones placed on the ship, as they say. Fight fire with fire. Or we could take a different approach by disabling not the boats, but the reconnaissance drones, or high-altitude UAVs like the Global Hawk, which provide the boats with information on the target's location. Or you could block the Starlink signal, since this system is what provides communication between the operator and the Becker. It seems that all these methods are already being used. So, while Becks are not some kind of Wunderwaffe, when used correctly, they are formidable weapons that have already caused quite a stir and managed to paralyze the operations of the Black Sea Fleet. Another important factor played into this: the short distances in this body of water. A journey of a few hours does not require frequent updates of reconnaissance data or long-term weather forecasts. The reliability of the drone's mechanical parts is not as crucial. There is no need for a significant fuel reserve, and you can overlook the ability to withstand storms, operating solely in calm conditions. But Becks are also evolving, and while they are sometimes still subdued by the same helicopters, if those boats were to be equipped with their own machine gun or missile system, the helicopter itself would turn from hunter to target. By the way, information about Becks with aviation missiles has already leaked online. According to some reports, they even had thermal homing warheads. There was also info about Sia baby drones equipped with Grad systems, or what stops a kamikaze Becker from carrying a few FPV drones or even diving underwater. By the way, in Ukraine, work has been underway for over a year on creating such an underwater modification of the kamikaze Beisi Toloka. In this case, only a small satellite communication antenna will be on the surface, making it significantly more difficult to detect or destroy such a vessel. In general, kamikaze Becks are a promising type of weaponry. Their potential is huge and is just starting to unfold. It is quite possible that this may bring revolutionary changes to warfare on the seas. And why hide it? Whether on their own or not, the armed forces of Ukraine are clearly excelling in this aspect. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video too, and you'll thank me with a like and subscribe to the channel so we'll stay connected. I also have a Zen channel where I duplicate content. If you prefer watching there, you are welcome to check it out. The link will be in the description as well. See you in the next videos.